Hey, before you watch this thing, hit subscribe, would you? I've been waiting for this time of year for 6 long months. Where I live, Southern Ontario, Western New York, part of North America, it starts to warm up a little bit in March, but the weather is super inconsistent. One day it's mild, the next day it's snowing. It literally snowed 10 days ago where I live. But once you hit mid-April, the weather flattens right out. You start to get sunny days. You start to get between 12 and 15 degrees Celsius. You see people that you haven't seen in 4 months because they're all locked inside their houses. It's an absolute fantastic time of year. I have 10 really good fragrances for you guys today. There are no passengers on this list. They're good fragrances from top to bottom. And the fragrance number one, it is the ultimate old money fragrance. It is Dior's Eau Sauvage. Now, why is this the ultimate old money fragrance? Because this is the signature scent of the King of England, King Charles. Yes, it is a fragrance of its time. This came out in 1966 when Charles was in his prime. So it's going to have a little bit of that barbershop feel, but I do mean a little bit. So you're talking that oak moss and lavender combination, a couple of other herbal notes, but what you're really going to get here is a beautiful lemon scent. There's bergamot to back it up, but what you pick up more than anything is the lemony citrus. This is also a fragrance that introduced the note of hedoine. Now, hedoine is something that's used in most fresh male fragrances even today, but this was the first time it was used in any kind of concentration. It is a scent amplifier. It gives it some punch. So this was the very first use of it. It was a revolutionary fragrance in many ways. It's kind of a light, airy jasmine scent, but it's not the scent. It's the amplification that really works well for it. And this bottle, even though the bottle has changed slightly over the last few years, the ribbing, the actual ribbing, and this is something that you really have to see for yourself to really appreciate. The ribbing has been on the bottle since 1966. This is an all-time classic fragrance, both in scent and in presentation. I always wondered why they called this Prada Luna Rossa Carbon. I'm like, why carbon? So I looked it up. Prada sponsors the Italian yacht racing team, and they make their hulls out of carbon fiber. And they also, oddly enough, make their sails out of carbon fiber as well. So aesthetics here, the bottom of the bottle is actually designed to look like carbon fiber. It's not, it's actually plastic. But I use carbon fiber hockey sticks. And what do I think of when I think of my hockey sticks? I think of them as strong and very, very smooth. And I really think that's why the name is associated with the smoother version of Dior Sauvage. Dior Sauvage, as good as it is, especially at getting compliments, it's not a smooth fragrance. It bombards you with ambroxan and black pepper. A lot of people find it annoying, but this takes that DNA and smooths it right out. They've got their patented Luna Rossa lavender, which is notoriously smooth. And then it also has metallic notes, and they even have a coal note, which is meant to give it an air of minerality, which is also smooth. So smooth Dior Sauvage. It's like a Dior Sauvage for adults or for people that like an easier wearing fragrance. Dior Homme Sport 2021 was the last fragrance that we got from François Demachy. And that didn't seem like a big deal at the time, but since Francis Kurkdjian has taken over, Dior's taken a little bit of a dive. We realize just how good Demachy was. Now, he didn't do so great in the original Dior Homme 2020, although I think that was largely because people were expecting Iris and they didn't get any. But boy, by the time this came out, this was a phenom because it wasn't just a sport fragrance, which are normally boring. They're normally either citrusy or aquatic, but this was completely different. It is a little citrusy. There's lemon and bergamot, but this is fundamentally a fresh resin fragrance. Has got a lot of elemi and olibanum. Now, as expensive as elemi is, olibanum is even more expensive, and fresh resinous notes are usually used, because they're expensive, they're usually used as accent notes, but they went all in with this, with Dior. Very expensive smelling fragrance. Yeah, what a great way for François Demachy to go out. Kenzo Odaparfa is the only fragrance name that I've ever heard of that's been associated with two completely different fragrances, including this one. Now, this one is Kenzo Odaparfa 2022. There's also a 2016 version, which is not what you want. This is more popular, so keep an eye out for this one. Now, it's a weird house in a number of different ways. It's a house that tries to combine C notes with all kinds of different things, weird things, like pine or guaiac wood. And in some cases, they've even got fig going with C notes. Now, this one's worked out the best. This one has leather going for it. And because it's leather and C notes, it's a strange combination. This is a polarizing scent. It is not for everybody, but it is popular, and leather gives it one thing that really works for this. Leather is a notoriously good projector and good longevity, so it's got very, very strong aquatic fragrance here. This is super strong. 6 hours for an aquatic, like it's probably longer than that. It's really, really strong, tons of projection, but yes, leather and aquatic notes is a weird one, so this is not what I would call a blind buy. Imagine you're walking along a cliff, looking out onto the Pacific Ocean. You can smell the salt water. You can smell the water. You can look down. You can see the aquatic vegetation. You can smell it all. You're taking it all in. That's what this fragrance does so well. This is Pacific Rock Moss by Goldfield and Banks. That's what they were actually trying to do. And it took me a while, I got to admit, but I put it on the other day. I'm like, damn, this really does smell like the ocean more than anything else. It's a photorealistic ocean feel, and they even have the aquatic vegetation. Now, this actually is meant to smell like lichen. Moss doesn't actually grow on rocks near the water. Lichen does, but the idea of calling it Pacific Rock Lichen, I'm sure it didn't go over too well in the boardroom. Now, lichen and moss are similar. Lichen has an earthier, more musky smell, and you really can get a vibe of this, especially as it dries down, but this is more than anything. The freshness, the oceanic feel, they use lemon and geranium to get that freshness. I don't know how exactly they do it, but my God, it really does smell like the ocean. Now, this fragrance has been criticized for its performance. Here's the thing, though. They use 20% fragrance oil for this. That's parfum level amount of fragrance oil, but it is a fresh fragrance. And so people complain about the performance. Now, I have no issues with the longevity whatsoever. Minimum 5 hours on my skin. I can pick it up easily. The projection is a little iffy, but it's not terrible. It is an aquatic after all, but the scent here is really the star. One of the greatest perfumers, if not the greatest of all time, Alberto Morillas, does not make clones. This is Versace Parfum. A lot of people compare it to Chanel Allure Homme Sport, which I do not believe he was intending to clone Allure Homme Sport. It was just the kind of fragrance that was in the style at the moment. It's a beautiful citrus aromatic. And look, we know that Chanel does everything they can to inflate the prices of their fragrance, and that's the key here. Similar quality to Chanel Allure Homme Sport, but less than half the price. Very, very close to half the price, because Chanel doesn't allow their fragrances to hit the market and fall to the right price. Versace does, so you're going to pay a lot less for this, and you're going to get the similar lemon and bergamot vibe with the floral mid. There's some fresh florals here, 3 of them. And then you're also going to get a little bit of tonka in the base, that little bit of sweetness that really makes the fragrance, but it is not a clone. What does Ralph's Club Parfum smell like? Well, let's start with YSL Y Le Parfum and go from there. So Y Le Parfum has a really nice apple note to start with. This has an apple note as well. The apple note here, though, is toned down a little bit because this is more of a dark fragrance. The aromatic notes here are very similar. You're going to get lavender, sage, and geranium here. But what really separates this and Le Parfum is the woods. This is a woodier version of Y Le Parfum. So you're going to get cashmere, you're going to get cedar and vetiver in larger doses. Now, that makes a fragrance, I think, a little bit darker, And it doesn't affect the longevity at all. This has got really good longevity. It does, however, shorten the projection. So instead of it being 6 feet of projection, it's going to be more like 3 or 4. But this is still a really good fragrance, and it seems to have gone under the radar despite the similarities to YSL Y Lar Parfum, which is really popular. I just don't understand it. The bottle is super cool, and the price is significantly lower. You're going to pay $60 for this. You're going to pay $105 for YSL Y Lar Parfum. I know which one I'm picking. Imagine you're in your backyard on a really, really hot day. You're sitting on your lounge chair, you've got the herb garden in the corner, you got a couple of fruit trees there. All of a sudden, you get a flash rainstorm, lasts about 5 minutes. And then all that heat starts to dissipate. And you've got the rain on the leaves, and everything feels fresher, and it feels a lot cooler. It feels beautiful. And that's what H24 Viv by Hermes manages to do in fragrance form. I'm not entirely sure how they do it, but it really does feel like that. And because of that, this is a fantastic summer fragrance. The hotter it gets, the better. So this fragrance starts off with a lot of herbal notes, right? So tons of them. So it definitely have that herb garden feel. There's a pear note as well. That gives it a little bit of fruitiness, just a hint. But it's the last note that does the majority of the work. It's a new aroma chemical called Fizz Cool. It's meant to smell fresh without exactly smelling minty, but it just captures that cooling sensation, and you really do feel it. If an herb garden isn't your thing and you prefer citrus, I would go with Zerjoff's Neo. Now, it's a very expensive fresh fragrance, but it's definitely more citrusy. So you're going to get bergamot and neroli, but you're still going to be kind of green. You're going to get a lot of green notes, but you still get that punch of citrus. It's an absolutely gorgeous fragrance. It is a Xerjoff after all, and it lasts, on my skin, it has literally lasted 12 hours, but it's super, super refreshing, and it's absolutely, again, perfect for the hottest day of the year. With summer coming up, you're really going to need a good, solid blue fragrance. YSL Y EDP is as good as it gets. It's an absolute weird, strange mix of notes. It just comes together beautifully. So you're going to get a lot of citrus. You're going to get a bergamot note off the top. You're going to get ginger with it as well. Both of those are really fresh. You get a little bit of darkness with that sage, that herbal sage note. You get the apple, which is a key to this line. And then you're going to get a little bit of tonka and amberwood in the base, just a hint of sweetness. You do get more sweetness, I think, in Versace Parfum. But overall, this comes across as being blue and fresh. It's got really good performance. I think it would be fantastic for summer. You are going to need a blue fragrance. And yeah, I love summer so much. I really can't wait. And oh my God. Yeah, I really upgraded my summer collection this time last year because I didn't have enough good ones for summer, and I love the season. So anyway, thanks for watching.